It all kicked off with a goat on my front porch, and a woman shrieking like she just stumbled across a demon. I stepped outside, coffee in hand, and there she was, Linda from the HOA, standing on the sidewalk, waving her clipboard like she was guiding a plane to the runway. She was hollering about property values and demonic farm animals. The goat, Pebbles, just gazed at her, munched on a daisy, and dropped a little gift right on my doormat. I took a slow sip from my mug, gave Linda a nod, and said, "Meet the new landscaper. She's unionized, so you might want to thank her." That's when Linda threatened to call animal control, the building inspector, and her uncle who knows a guy at the CIA. What she didn't realize was this whole fiasco, the goat, the garden, the rogue zucchini patch, started because of her. It all traced back to a $50 fine she'd slapped me with a month earlier over 2 extra inches of grass. She wanted a fight. I gave her a farm. 30 days before, I was just a retired guy pruning shrubs and sipping lemonade, minding my own business. I'd just finished tinkering with a steampunk espresso maker cobbled together from spare PVC pipes and a busted toaster when her first letter slid under my door. It was typed in Comic Sans, smelled faintly of lavender, and reeked of smugness. The HOA had fined me for my lawn hitting 4.5 inches when the limit was 2.0. Attached was a photo of some busybody measuring my grass with a ruler. I laughed, framed the letter, and hung it above my fireplace. At first I figured I'd just mow it and be done. But then I saw her Linda cross the street, arms crossed, smirking like she'd already won. That's when it hit me, this wasn't about grass. It was about power. And if there's one thing a 65-year-old engineer with too much time on his hands doesn't tolerate, it's being bossed around by someone who thinks a clipboard is a scepter. That afternoon I dove into the HOA bylaws, all 42 pages of them. Every vague rule, every outdated restriction, every loophole. Then I found it, Section 9B. Properties used for agriculture or educational gardening were exempt from decorative landscaping rules. I leaned back, chuckled until my dog bolted off the couch, and decided they wanted a war over grass, I'd give them crops. The next day, I hit the nursery and loaded up on tomato seedlings, spinach, peppers, cucumbers, and a watermelon vine I named Daisy. I came home with dirt under my nails and a fire in my chest. By nightfall, my front lawn was gone, replaced by raised garden beds made from scrap wood and old fence posts Linda had once forced me to swap out. I even stuck a tiny scarecrow in a suit with a name tag reading Linda. 2 days later, Linda marched over, clipboard in tow, sunglasses perched like she was a detective. She glared at my carrots and demanded to know if I had a permit. I handed her a laminated copy of Section 9B. Her jaw tightened, she scribbled something and stormed off. That night, I sat on the porch with a cup of tea, listening to the breeze rustle my bean sprouts when my phone pinged. Someone had posted on the neighborhood app, "Front yard looks like a barnyard, what happened to standards?" The replies rolled in, "It's kind of charming, at least someone's growing food with prices so high, is he selling eggs yet?" A neighbor offered me compost, another asked if I'd plant basil. The uprising had begun. The next week, I added a compost bin I dubbed the HOA heap, and painted it with daisies. Then I built a chicken coop from an old shed. 6 hens moved in, each named after an HOA board member. Sarah, Tina, Mike, Greg, Ellen, and naturally Linda Jr. Linda Jr. was the loudest, always pecking at anything that Gleematch once tried to brawl with her reflection in a bucket. I started selling their eggs in cartons labeled Linda's Coop Crew. The local store even stocked them as a gimmick. Linda was Lee VYD. She stomped up to my fence, demanding to know if I was running a business. I told her it was a community-driven sustainability project, with all proceeds going to the library. She couldn't argue with books. Then came Pebbles the goat. She was a fluke. I'd gone to a farm auction just to browse, and she headbutted my leg and swiped my granola bar. I strapped her into my truck with a seatbelt and a straw hat and brought her home. She now trims my backyard and sometimes the porch with a bell that jingles "Sweet Home Alabama" when she moves. The kids adore her. One painted a sign, "Tom's Urban Farm Est. 2025. I hung it on the gate. Linda, meanwhile, lost it. She filed 3 complaints in a week: noise, unregistered animals, and emotional distress by vegetables. Apparently, my tomatoes glared at her from the sidewalk. I framed that one too. The HOA called an urgent meeting. I showed up in overalls, cradling a zucchini the size of a toddler. When they asked if I'd comply, I handed each member a basket of veggies tagged, "Fueled by spite, rooted in law." Silence. Then one laughed. then another. Linda didn't. By the meeting's end, it was clear I'd found my loophole and I wasn't alone. A neighbor planted sunflowers, another started beekeeping. The suburb was sprouting, all because Linda couldn't handle a little tall grass. The chickens, though they were louder than I'd expected. Not just clucks, but full-on barnyard symphonies at dawn. I built them a cozy coop with a solar fan and nesting boxes lined with old HOA flyers. Every morning I gather eggs, stamp cartons laid with grit and a touch of revenge, and leave them in a cooler with a pay-what-you-can sign. Folks left cash, notes, even a sketch of pebbles and shades on a scooter. The mailman became a regular. Linda noticed. The day after the hens arrived, she stood at my driveway, staring them down like they were plotting treason. One Sarah squawked so fiercely Linda flinched. She snapped photos and left. 2 hours later an email arrived. Urgent violation. Unregistered poultry. With a circled pic of my coop. I replied with Section 9B underlined and a note. Cluck off. Then the spying started. A guy in neon shorts stretched outside my house for 15 minutes 3 mornings straight. A woman pushed an empty stroller with a doll and what looked like a camera in its head. I waved, offered them squash. They declined. I called them the suburban stakeout crew. They thought they were slick. I was filming. I set up tiny cameras in bird houses and gnome hats, posting the best clips on a YouTube channel, Linda's Lawn Patrol. Views climbed from 30 to 20,000. By week 3, a seed company offered sponsorship and fans begged for Pebbles merch. I made her a daisy crown and filmed her staring down a jogger who tripped over the compost. That hit 100,000 views. I escalated peacefully. I expanded the garden with corn along the fence and pumpkins just to mess with Linda's measuring tape. Solar carrot lights went up. A grape VYNE climbed the mailbox. My house became a mini Eden with zoning quirks all legal. I hosted Tom's Farm Food Day with chairs, veggie displays, and zucchini bread. I printed flyers, from HOA to harvest, how I ditched the mower. Neighbors brought pies, kids petted Pebbles. The local paper ran a story, Rebel with a Rake, retiree turns HOA feud into oasis. Linda held another meeting, ranting about moral decay under the gazebo. Someone coughed, another rolled their eyes. That night, a note appeared on my door, keep it up. P.S. More bread. I left the loaf on the porch. Soon 2 neighbors ripped up their laws, one for butterflies, another for herbs. Linda lost sleep, her words, not mine. She showed up one morning, eyes twitching, claiming Pebbles chewed too loud. I pointed to the sleeping goat and said, she's on break union rules. Linda didn't laugh. She waved new rules banning livestock and plants over 3 feet. I hung fairy lights on my squash trellis and asked, decorative enough? She stormed off. Then workers installed no livestock signs. I hung one below, freedom grows here, with wildflowers and Pebbles napping beside it. Someone, likely Linda, tipped over my compost twice. Footage showed a rake-wielding shadow. I posted it online. Take a zucchini next time. 3 thank you notes and chicken feed arrived anonymously. HA meetings turned theatrical, Linda with binders, me with produce. One member, Greg, smirked at my quips. Ellen asked for basil tips. Linda's Save Our Suburb flyers flopped. I laminated one for the coop. Inspectors prowled. I added sprinklers that soaked loiterers. Kids turned it into a game. I handed out veggie popsicles. Linda's beautification parade crashed my garden. Tour guests offered her peas. She snapped. This isn't a VY neared. I held up grape jam. Tastes like liberty. One night, a noise complaint claimed my hens cussed at midnight. I laughed, installed a speaker playing Mozart when triggered. Kids loved it, the HOA didn't. So I went big. Tom's Farmapalooza. I got a city permit for an educational event, vendors, a jazz band jam tasting. Over 200 showed up. The mayor's aide posed with Pebbles. Linda C. Sandesis called my veggies weapons. I framed it. This wasn't just spite, Anna Marie, it was community. Neighbors talked, kids played, fences softened. Even Ellen brought honey, whispering, my daisies are too tall, didn't tell Linda. We laughed as the sprinklers hit us. The HOA's final blow came in a thick envelope from a law firm, Hardwick Vostone. It accused me of running a farm empire and disrupting sparrows. I called my daughter, Emily, an environmental lawyer. She laughed. They're suing you for a goat? She flew in, dissected their case, and wrote a reply citing city overrides and EPA lawn rules. At the arbitration, Linda ranted, Emily shredded her with facts, revealing my farm city grant. A video of Linda tripping over my rake sealed it laughter filled the room. No penalties. Linda stormed out. Documents later exposed HOA favoritism fines for blue mailboxes but not RVs. Residents rebelled. 2 board members quit. My farm got a city grant for expansion. At an open garden day, families picnicked, kids fed pebbles and Ellen swapped jam. Linda's blinds twitched, but she stayed away. Then one dawn, I found her feeding my hens, softer, quieter. She muttered, "Nice tomatoes," and left herbs by the gate. She kept coming silently weeding, never chatting. The neighborhood bloomed, gardens, markets, chili cook-offs. I added a sign. Tom's Urban Farm. Soil, water, stubbornness open to all, even old foes. Linda tended basil at sunrise. Sometimes, a fine and a goat can spark more than a fight, they can grow a VY lodge. And sometimes the goat wins.